Hi, this is Kevin Thomas, and welcome back to the At Home Film Festival. I am doing an episode this week that I am very excited about. It's about movies that have impacted my life. Not necessarily movies that are my favorites or movies that I could watch every weekend. We all have a list of those. But movies that made a difference and still are in my memory from my experience of watching these films. And in doing this research, I realized I forgot how much I love Diane Cannon. She is in Bob and Carol and 10 Now here, as well as a bunch of other people, including the wonderful Natalie Wood. And I almost included some of those Diane Cannon movies in this episode, but I decided, you know what? Maybe she should have her own one day. What do you think of that? Give me comments below. In the meantime, until we're waiting for the Diane Cannon Festival, let's take a look at movies that made a difference to me. The first movie on our list is Funny Lady from 1975. For you millennials out there, here's why this movie was so important to me. By the way, you could rent it for a few dollars on almost any streaming service. So here we have 1975, March 9th, 1975 to be exact. There was a special from Funny Girl to Funny Lady on TV, and it was up against the Cher show, which I watched religiously. Now, people aren't going to really know this unless you're a little older like I am, and I'm as old as AF, okay? But in those days, there wasn't even a VCR or DVD or streaming device, so I had to pick between watching one show or the other. Oh my God, what a choice. I decided to watch the special from Funny Girl to Funny Lady because the Cher show likely could be repeated sometime. And Cher was my favorite entertainer until I saw Funny Lady. Oh, Cher really hadn't started acting yet, so I didn't have that aspect, but Barbra Streisand was a better singer than Cher. She had an Academy Award. She was a great actress. So I really, from that point on, I became the Barbra fan that I am today. And this movie, I went to the Century Theater in San Jose, and it was a grandiose giant screen with amazing sound. And I want to thank my brother Dennis, because I couldn't even drive at that time. Dennis not only took me, he sat next to me. That's a really nice thing he did. Thank you, Dennis. He never watches this, but I'll at least have him watch this one. Oh. So I fell in love with Barbra that day, March 9th, 1975. In fact, the songs from the same writers, Kander and Ebb, that did Cabaret. The book is from the same person that wrote Cabaret, so that's reason to love it. And the costumes were by Bob Mackie, who actually did Cher's costumes. So this movie really, really won me over. In fact, I want to just play you snippets of a song that is not an original song, but because it's from the olden days, but the costume that Barbra wears is super sexy. Anyway, take a look and tell me what you think, okay?
It's gonna be a great day. Gabriel, I will warn you, some early morning will hear his horn. It's not far
As long as we're talking about musicals, let's go back to 1971 with Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. It made quite an impression on little Kevin. It pretty much is Mary Poppins, I must say. It's about a nanny with magical powers. And you can watch it on Disney Plus. There's also another streaming device called Movie Land, which has the unedited version, which in this case, unedited just means a few more songs. Now, this movie was so good, it won an Oscar for visual effects. It had Angela Lansbury as the lead, and movies didn't love her as much as live theater did. It was up for several other Oscars. Really, really fun and terrific, even though it's like Mary Poppins' cousin. But what it really did have for me, and this is why it's memorable to me, is my whole neighborhood went to see this film. I wanted to go again, but my mother wouldn't let me. She said, well, if you could raise the money, you could go. So I cashed in bottles, I looked in the couch for change, I got all this money together, and I went again alone because all the other kids had already seen it. And in those days, a kid could go alone without his parents worrying about him. It's sad that it doesn't happen today. But it wasn't as fun alone. I mean, there's no one to like elbow with funny moments, so it wasn't enjoyable the second time. But nowadays, I could watch it every now and then and remember how much fun I had. But this actually led to me watching a lot of movies over and over and over, but not alone at the theater at this time. The Sting had everything going for it in 1973. Look, it won 7 Oscars. It was my birthday movie in 1974. And the reason this stuck out is it's not because it's even my favorite movie, it's really good, but that year, my birthday was on Super Bowl Sunday. I don't care about the Super Bowl. And I'm just a little kid, so I planned a movie birthday party, and all the parents called me. Some of them yelled at me for not changing my birthday to celebrate it not during Super Bowl Sunday. When you're a little kid, if your birthday's on Sunday, you celebrate it on Sunday. So this was the most poorly attended birthday party I ever had. I was there, my mom was there, our neighbor Alvin was there, thank you Alvin. And once again, my brother Dennis comes through. Dennis, what a trooper, good guy, thank you Den. Good movie, you could watch it for a few dollars on most streaming devices, but when you watch it, think about poor Kevin's birthday during the Super Bowl. Sadness. Oh my God, then there's Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. You could watch it on Screen Picks. It was rated X at the time, and in fact, it's so hard to find even a preview for this movie. So there's more of a promotion for the movie without scenes from it, but oh my God. Okay, here's how this movie works. So it's a Russ Meyer's film. It's not really a sequel to Valley of the Dolls, and they had to say that when they released it because they were gonna be sued. But it's still about 3 young women with drugs and sexiness, and it's from Russ Meyers that loved topless women. And so what happened was, this is why this is in my mind. So Dennis is involved again. So this is like also the Dennis episode. So we were being taken to the drive-in by an adult. And if you turn left, there was like a PG movie. If you went forward, there was Valley of the Dolls, which was rated X. So we tricked the adult and said go forward. So here we are now at Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. And oh, it starts off horrific, very tough for a kid to watch. It really haunted me for a while. There's a beheading at the beginning of the movie. And there's a transgender person. That's my first exposure to a transgender person. It was so shocking to little Kevin. And we wouldn't let the adult leave though, because we're seeing beheadings and trans and blood and tits and sex and drugs and rock and roll. Oh, it was so fun and weird. But but anyway, Dennis was there again. I can't believe how involved Dennis is in this episode, but I still think of this movie and actually enjoy watching it now. And it's really had a cult following. It's become more famous these days. And a little secret tidbit is it was written by Roger Ebert, film critic. Yes! Oh. Just Tell Me What You Want, 1980, is also a memorable movie to me. First of all, I think it's the best performance by Ali MacGraw here. She's the woman. Even though she was up for an Oscar for Love Story, not such a fan of that film. But this movie, which you could rent for a few dollars, by the way, is really terrific, where she plays a high-class, I don't want to just say call girl, because she's really one man's kept woman, Alan King. And she decides to fall in love herself, and that leads to him being so mean to her. But this really sticks out to me because around 1980, here I am, just graduated from high school, and I really liked more adult movies, and most people my age were going to silly, TNA films or rom-coms and less sophisticated ones. So I went again to the movies alone. And this time it wasn't like I didn't have someone to laugh with. I just felt in this movie that I was like a fat kid that no one liked. So people would come into the theater and say, oh, that fat guy has no friends. No wonder he's here alone. By the way, today, I don't feel that way, and I wouldn't care if you thought that. I enjoy going to the movies alone. I enjoy going with friends. I just enjoy going to the movies. But you should watch this movie, especially when she gets in this big fight scene with him, because he deserved it, and she is a kick-ass bitch. Thank you. Oh my God, how could I not talk about Carrie and how it affected me? It's available on so many platforms for free. Paramount Plus, Epic, Amazon. Oh, and it got Sissy Spacek her first Oscar nomination. This is really a super well-crafted movie. This movie, actually the first time when videotapes came out, this is the first movie I rented. Carrie has a telekinesis power so she can move things with her mind. Her mother is super religious. I love the photography. I love the acting. I love the psycho parts. I love the revenge at the prom. There's everything about Carrie I love. I actually also love the pretty song in this movie, which should have been up for an Oscar. I know it's a long title. I can't believe someone like you could want someone like me. But Carrie is really, really a movie that has stuck with me for decades. Here's a little clip of that great song that I love from Carrie.
All the pain and the pleasure's the same. It goes so fast. I'm the girl with the strawberry hair in the photograph. So come on, let's dance. Let me have it while I have a chance. 'Cause there's another world where there are other girls, but tonight there's only me. I never dreamed someone like you could love someone like me.
Oh, that's a Brian De Palma thing, twisting and spinning, so you might be getting sick of that. But oh, this was so beautiful, and Carrie looked so nice. The ugly duckling got pretty. Oh. And then, of course, people ruined the prom. Also with Carrie, I saw it with my whole family. Dennis didn't come. It was my brother Pat this time. My mom sitting next to me. Carrie's about over. We loved every minute of it. It's so enjoyable. This theme is so pretty. Sue here is the only one who survived that prom. Oh, what a sweet ending. My God. Oh, Sue. Ah! 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 When that happened, my mother grabbed me in the same spot. I about hit the roof. So of course Carrie's still in my head. Oh, Carrie, creepy Carrie, oh! Our final movie takes us way back in time to 1925 and Charlie Chaplin's The Gold Rush. This movie means so much to me for many reasons, and by the way, you could find it on many platforms, particularly HBO. They have a very good print, but you can find it many copies on YouTube. And this movie has a perfect score on Rotten Tomatoes, where Charlie is a very down in the luck person. This is one of the most famous scenes where he's like eating shoe leather. And this reminds me of, once again, millennials, you didn't have streaming for your whole life. I used to go to the library and rent out reel-to-reel movies, mostly silent, and watch them down the hallway on a white wall. And a lot of them were Charlie Chaplin films. Oh, I grew to love him early on. And silent movies also reminds me of the pandemic, because when I would be home with my friend roommate Lisa, she'd be teaching school in the next room, and I would have the day off, and I can't be watching action, loud movies or swearing. So I watched a lot of silent movies then. It reminded me of these old days when I used to watch like movies like The Gold Rush. And it also was current in my head because a lot of times when I quote something old with millennials, they say, I wasn't born then. And I say, you know what? I wasn't around in 1925, but I still appreciate the movie The Gold Rush. Art is forever. You don't have to be only see stuff since you were born. Millennials! Anyway, that's kind of our show for the week. I can't wait for you to come back next week where I will have a whole new episode. Until then, you could share and subscribe. Anyway, hope to see you next week. Come back. As we leave, I'm having a quick look at Valley of the Dolls, which also affected me, young Kevin. And so I had Valley of the Dolls and Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Who needs them?
But in these days, I used to think yelling was good acting. I'm mistaken. But way, way back in time when I was a kid, I thought, what a great performance, because she was a great yeller. Uh-oh, here she comes. Wait.
Are you?
Lion! And
Jennifer. Mel. Oh, God.
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 I was a little early. Uh-oh, here we go.
Neely.
Oh! And to think, I once thought that was good acting. Oops. All right, Neely.